I have occasionated mad molding in the past for saying that I do not want LFD in Classic Rat. Blizzard tried to compromise, even though they are not gonna put LFD in Rat, creating a new tool called the Looking for Group tool. And apparently this is kind of crappy. So ScotteJaye made a video showcasing the problems with it. Let's check it out.
So about 2 days ago, there was a Reddit post put up about the concerns about the new LFG tool on the beta. I reached out to the author of the post and asked if he wouldn't mind me covering it in a video. Because actually, it's really good. Some really well thought out points. You're probably like, why are you sat in a car? I'm waiting for the kids to go kick.
Wow, so we got a little Alex Sensual here. He has the same recording style. I never understood car videos. But I don't know, I just hate driving.
Boxing. But let's look at this LFG post. So first of all, he starts with a disclaimer saying, I do not want this to turn into a thread about random dungeon finder. This is only a thread about the specifics of the new LFG tool in comparison to what we have in TBC Classic, and whether it resolves any of the common grouping problems.
Okay, of course he had to say TBCC instead of TBC Classic. You see, this Redditor is a busy man. Okay, he cannot spare the time to put 5 more letters on a post. He has important stuff to do as a Redditor. Oh my god, why you call it TBCC? What the hell is this?
Have currently. Is the new LFG tool any good? This is a topic of much discussion on the official RAF beta forums, but I have not seen much discussion of it here. So being here, like I said, this is on Reddit. For those without beta access, I've made an image gallery of the tool and its screens and options. So we can have a quick look at that if you haven't seen these already. I'll just skim through these pictures for you, but I'll show you in game exactly how it looks and what it looks like. But if you watch me for any length of time, you've probably already seen the video that I've done that covered this anyway. So we've got several concerns about the tool. The first being the group browser makes no distinction between players looking for group and group leaders looking for more. Currently on the beta, most players are listing themselves for dungeons they're interested in doing and then just waiting while they go back to questing. They're hoping someone will take the initiative to...
Okay, so TBC had a built-in group finder that is very similar in nature to what this system is. And I always thought it was great. But people always disagreed. Why? Why do you gotta reinvent the wheel? Like, TBC has a way to discriminate between a group owner needing more people and somebody needing for a group. There's a way to separate those people in the built-in TBC group finder. Why? How can you mess this up?
Start a group and invite them. That's sort of working with a very limited population of the beta, but given the minimal filtering ability of the tool, on a live server with any decent population, I suspect the group browser tab will be so cluttered as to be almost useless. It will just be too hard to pass all the listings in a timely manner to find the group or individuals you're looking for. And he's absolutely right. I've got a really good example of this. So people have come on the stream on ScotteJaye 87 on Twitch, by the way, and they've been saying like, well, you know, what's the new...
Give him a follow. You know, this is what I like about ScotteJaye. Even though, you know, if I'm being quite honest with you, I am not a huge fan of his content. And it is that this guy, and I can relate to it, I guess that's what is going on. This guy has the grind in his hacking heart. Like, he has 5 minutes free on a car, and he makes a video out of it. That is, I cannot hate on that. Like, I don't know, I dropped a lot of disses on Metagoblin, on Willy for their content, and he makes very similar content, but this guy is actually like on the war front every goddamn day, trying to make it work in a way that the others are not, and I'm like, you know what? You do what you gotta do, King.
Tool, like, are you using it? Is everyone using it? And we scanned through the group listings and we could find a tank, a healer, multiple DPS, but they're all listed separately and none of them are starting the group. So there was a full group sat there waiting to go. They all wanted the same dungeons, but no one started the group. So the custom note feature is not nearly as helpful as it could be, and as I think we were all hoping it would be. For one, you cannot see people's custom listings in the base group browser list. You have to mouse over or select a specific listing to see any custom note. For two, you cannot do a custom text search or filter on common notes. So for example, I cannot search for listings with a custom note that contains GDKP nor filter them out, which is absolutely true. And again, whilst I was just talking over that, you've seen what the custom note feature looks like, but not being able to filter, so it is just a note that you have to physically check every single one, without being able to filter in
So
or
he
out
wants
options.
to
So
have like a
let's
search
say someone
feature
was
that
looking for
makes
an achievement
sense.
run or something like that, being able to just type in achievement and it will only show you the listings where the custom note has got the word achievement in, just for example. It would be really useful. And this is hardly being used. It's the beta. You've got to remember that. So when it comes to live servers, and there's, tens of thousands on some of these servers all using this, plus advertising in it, you've got to remember that. People will be advertising boosts or gold selling websites or whatever. Like, it's going to happen. It happens.
It's already
on
a problem in
so there
retail.
will be clutter in there as well that you ideally want to be able to filter out, but you probably not going to be able to. So next he said the group browser tab doesn't auto update, so you have to manually refresh it regularly while you're looking for a group to join or members.
Okay, I disagree. I think it is good that it doesn't auto update. Why? Because if it auto updates, what's gonna happen is what happens when you're using your phone. You wanna click on something and a snap second before you click on something, the bitch moves. Because it's updating and the list keeps moving. I don't want that. That makes it very uncomfortable and inconvenient, and I like convenience. I am a zoomer, for God's sake. So no, I disagree on this one respectfully. I don't want it to auto update either. Like, maybe if they make it auto update every 2 minutes, like a decent chunk of time, so it doesn't happen too often, maybe I can see that being a thing. But again, if you want to do it that way, like, what's the goddamn difference at that point?
To invite to make sure they're still available or to see if there's new options. Now, I would say, again, because this is a comparison to what we've got in TBC opposed to what Random Dungeon Finder could be or anything like that, putting that all aside like the author originally intended, even with an add-on like LFG Bulletin Board, it's always updating because as new messages, enter the chat, then obviously new events will enter LFG Bulletin Board, or updates will enter LFG Bulletin Board. In terms of actually being able to run around and do things as well, you can have LFG Bulletin Board resized and just sat above your chat box, so you can more or less just run around and carry on doing whatever you're doing whilst looking, for a group. You could be stood grinding and still
Okay,
be
now I
for
see
a
what
group.
he means.
Because of the way the new LFG tool works, obviously it's quite big, it's quite intrusive on your screen. So the chances of being able to do other things whilst also looking at that and also clicking refresh on it quite regularly, I agree, bit of a pain. Also, the group invite button, which you might use instead of sending a whisper, looks and is exactly like a regular group invite. It gives no information about the person requesting the invite other than their name. And if multiple people request an invite to your
I mean, I feel it is cool to have Group Finder, like having it all unified, but again, and this will always be the case in a server that doesn't have like cross realm or something like that, the fastest way to make a group in any expansion that isn't cross realm, it still will be to /who people of your class, people of the class that you need, and whisper them all individually. And why is that? Because if you are pulling people out of the looking for group system, chances are, if they are something that is in high demand, they will be snatched up instantly. So you have very low classes of actually finding them if they signed up. But if you're whispering people, this happens very often, that you whisper some random priest and the priest was just farming gold randomly without looking for a group. And if you ask them, and this is Social Engineering 101, you ask him, hey man, do you wanna do this dungeon? There's a decent chance that he might assume that you know him from somewhere, even though you're a stranger, and be like, oh yeah, sure, I could go for that. That's how I make my groups. You'll see it on stream all the time. Like, if I need a healer, I don't wait for the goddamn queue in LFD in Warmate because it sucks. I just /who whisper people, and that's how I find my people. I don't go to global either. Global is a terrible way to get anything done. It's just /who, and that's why I'm so pissed at Kronos for breaking /who. That is really stupid. But yeah, the values of /who, man.
Group, it just pops them up in
very
first
hard to
in,
beat.
first out order.
Impossible,
without
let's
regard
say.
to even basic group composition. You could end up with an all DPS group or a group with 3 healers or whatever if you just accept the requests in order. Back indoors now, we can carry on. Now, looking at one of these screenshots, I suppose the biggest issue here is sort of where he's listed himself for a group and then that group leader has invited him and there's no information on the invite. It just looks like a standard group invite. So while similar applies when it comes to someone requesting to join the group, also if you're actively looking for a group, unless someone actually whispers you and says, hi, this invite's for Utgard Keep, it is just going to look like a normal invite. What would be nice is on that invite, if the person who's the leader has invited you using the tool, it sort of tags that event, the event that you've actually created in it. So on that invite, it will say accept and decline, and maybe below it, it will say UK group, and then even little icons with who's currently in the group, you know, a tank, a DPS, maybe it needs a healer. Something like that would just make it a lot cleaner. And then also, since you cannot use /4, which is obviously the looking for group channel, unless you're listed in the tool, there's no indication that Blizzard is planning to add an alternative global chat channel. I think it's likely the tool will be further clogged up with what are effectively fake listings just so people can use /4. And the interesting thing actually is when you're listed in the group, people are still just spamming LFG. I don't want to say no one's looking at the tool, but like you can see here, you know, looking for 2 more DPS Violet Hold, looking for Hills Nexus. So you still really are looking at a chat box in some way, shape, or form, to the point where actually having it looking cleaner with something like LFG Bulletin Board is probably still better. So he says, fundamentally, while this is a more functional and better looking tool than the completely ignored TBC Classic tool, I'm not sure what problem it really solves. Completely agree. I don't think it will reduce the time it takes to find a group for the content you want to do by any meaningful measure. This is especially problematic in Wrath. The dungeons are so quick and easy that at least if you're DPS, you're likely to spend more time finding a group and traveling to the dungeon than you will spend.
And if this tool is good, that will still be a problem. Once again, /who whisper every tank and healer in the server. Okay, don't be a fool. You heard it from me first. Okay? I get ahead by what it takes, not by what I should. That's how you do in life.
Inside. And this is actually something I brought up on a podcast a few days ago, and I said more or less exactly this. The point is that the heroics are so easy, and you can literally get a Utgard Keep heroic done, for example, in like 10-12 minutes. Do you really want to be spending 20-30 minutes looking for a group in chat when you're going to spend half that time actually doing the content? It also doesn't reduce the amount of attention you have to put into finding a group, and therefore reduce standing around in the capital spamming and staring at a tool. You'll just be spamming the refresh button instead of /4 and staring at the group browser page rather than bulletin board. And I totally get what he means, but I still think people are going to be staring at their chat box just as much as they are now, apart from they won't be looking at LFG bulletin board, they'll be looking at their actual chat box, unless LFG Bulletin Board does some updates. Because, like I say, people are still putting the LFM, LFG in the LFG channel, and people are probably more likely to see that while they're running around questing or doing whatever, than actually just having that box open, which is the actual LFG tool, and clicking refresh periodically and scrolling through loads of listings. Also, it doesn't do anything to improve the efficiency of grouping tanks, healers, and DPS in the appropriate 1-1-3 ratio, nor to further incentivize.
How can you do them in the effective 1-1-3 ratio if that's not the ratio of players? That's why we got this whole problem, okay? You're trying to solve a numbers problem with a cute UI. That is never gonna happen. There is a tank shortage, there is a healer shortage when you're making dungeons in any expansion. That's just how it works. Why? Because first of all, nobody wants to play a tank because people are pussies. Yep. People are scared of responsibility. Where are all the good men gone? But there is simply a lot more DPSers than tanks for many reasons. And no matter how good your UI is, as even if you make grouping a little more efficient, there is still gonna be less tanks than you need for the whole DPSers. And if you get groups done faster, all that means is that there's gonna be a faster influx of new DPSers to fill the old DPSers that did the dungeon before. And it is never gonna be solved. Like, I don't know what people expect out of this tool to achieve in an ideal world, but let me tell you, it will not make tanks appear out of thin air. And that's why it's slow to make groups, not because there's a UI problem, really. It's really not. Like, even if you do it automated through LFG, it still takes a long time if you're a DPS to find a group, because there is simply not enough tanks. Doesn't matter what you do, there is simply not. That is poor design by Blizzard, like all the way back to vanilla. They just simply did not incentivize people rolling tanks that much. But that's not going away with a new UI, okay? Give up on that. That's not what this is for.
Advise the players to play tank or healer roles to reduce the disparity that leads to long search times for DPS. Wrath itself may do that to some extent with the introduction of DKs, the minimization of the importance of watching threat and dual spec, but this tool by itself doesn't contribute. Which is absolutely right. The tool doesn't do anything, to even help. And even the people that are willing to tank, they're still just sat in there, and without someone taking that initiative to create the group, everyone's just sat around essentially doing nothing. It does nothing to encourage people to overcome their general tendency to not lead groups, both in live and on the beta. Lots of people are just sitting there waiting for someone else to start the invites and take charge. Exactly what I just said. It does less to help you curate your group makeup and experience than LFG.
Why is that my problem?
Nor does it do anything to reduce the unpleasant and frankly unnecessary gatekeeping against certain classes and specs when forming groups. And that's absolutely true. And it's something that Random Dungeon Finder does well. It doesn't discriminate against your spec. You know, it's just looking for a DPS. It don't care what DPS it is. Whereas you're still going to get people who are like, oh, I'm not taking an assassination.
Okay, so would you rather have gatekeeping or have dungeons fail? Because to me, and I might be a total jerk, to me it's not even a choice. What the hell? I would rather spend 3-5 more minutes getting a group done and actually going to the dungeon and actually slaying it. Actually, in Rat, the dungeons are so easy that it's not gonna matter. You know what? He has a point. He has a point. I'm thinking with a TVC classic mindset. That's just not true. He has a point.
Nation Road, because like we want AoE to cleave through everything. Oh, I'm not taking this marksman hunter. I'm not. You know, it's going to be still people picking and choosing, and those specs that are not looked on particularly fondly by the majority of people are still just, they're going to be the ones that just sat in the LFG tool and not actually getting groups. And finally, it doesn't do anything to encourage more pro-social behaviour. The times I've used it on the beta, there was very little communication as the group formed, absolutely no talking while we ran the dungeon, and then just GG at the end. I mean, he's literally said, again, on the podcast on Thursday, I said exactly the same thing. Blizzard trying to protect this social environment that we've got going on in Heroic Dungeons that I personally haven't seen exist for a long time. You know,
in TVC it does exist,
you want to get
at least
done.
for me.
Actually,
it always
TVC
did.
heroics are a lot more difficult and they take a lot longer, and they've historically been more difficult. And then when we get to Cataclysm, they're even more difficult. It's those sort of times where, yeah, actually, you're having to talk about who's CCing what, who's doing, this, that, and the other. Whereas Wrath, you can go in with like practically no gear, just full greens, and just smash through them with literally no need to communicate. And that's the most frustrating thing about not having Random Dungeon Finder. It's not the sort of content that we really need focused efforts on or even communication to do. They are just that easy that you just want to be chucked in, get it done, and get out. It's more of a chore than going in there for fun. That's how I feel about them personally anyway. So that is the one sad thing about no Random Dungeon Finder, is the fact that it's just prolonging the amount of time it takes for you to get into this group for such a minimal amount of time actually spent with those people. And no one probably wants to talk to you anyway. So that's it. That's the group finder.
Yeah, but that's not the fault of the dungeon finder, though. Like, you guys seem to have forgotten how long it takes to get on LFD, the automated version 2. Okay, what this is gonna do, like the only change I'm gonna see it doing, is that the people that are extremely proficient and smart are gonna take advantage of it faster than the people that are not very proficient at using the feature, so they are gonna get groups done a little faster than everybody else. But the core problem is not gonna be gone, okay? You're never gonna find a tank instantly. There is no tanks, period. Okay? If you really would care about that side of things, which you should be talking about how can we incentivize more people to play tanks and healers. That's a whole nother design issue. Sadly, I don't think there's that much you can do about this, and if it were up to me, I would have them rather not do anything, period, but that's not gonna happen. Blizzard, they gotta do something. They gotta compromise. 2022 world we live in.
In a nutshell, and the guy done an absolutely amazing job of the post, so if you do use Reddit, be sure to go and upvote it. He did also mention that he'll be discussing this on the next Countdown to Classic podcast that goes out, so be sure to check that out. And until next time, like, subscribe. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Check out the Rested XP guide. It's working on the beta now as well. If you've got beta access, I'm going to actually be using it on stream today. So come check me out on twitch.tv/ScotteJaye87 and watch me level either an Enhancement Shaman or a Rep Paladin using Rested XP. Roll the outro. There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes. Everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos because you get a nice icon next to your name.
It's a different color name, so you know it you're better than everybody else. We make that very clear here.
and you get access to members only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.
Okay,
about
guys,
2
this
days
is
ago.
ScotteJaye. We're gonna leave his channel in the description. Actually, I'm gonna link it to the stream right now. Might as well. There we go. So, what do I think is the core problem with the dungeon finder, the group finder, sorry, as it is right now? And those UI bugs, those UI quirks, problems, you might say, I am confident they are gonna fix those. Because it really doesn't take that much work and they are trying to keep the people that wanted LFD happy. So they will probably iron out those kinks very fast. Here's the thing. I know that I argue against these people all the time. Some people say that the classic community is a little unpleasable. This time, I think they are absolutely right. There is no iteration of this tool that is gonna make people happy. People have an expectation of this tool that it simply cannot do. They are trying to solve game mechanic problems with UI. That is never going to work. If it were up to me, I would have them not do anything to the game, not put any LFG of any kind, and not even the automated, not even this tool, no LFG period. That would be what I would do, but that's just me. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for we got a lot more coming. Join my goddamn Discord, it's already in the pinned comment. Click on it right now. And also, I'm taking freelance editing work. You need a video that you need to turn into a cinematic masterpiece. You know the man. Okay, see ya.